Yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Tim Keys, and today I'm back to talk about the new feature from Akai, which is the stem separation that will be coming to the MPC lineup at some point later on this year. I've seen a couple videos on it, and it looked like some people, some YouTube users, some YouTube influencers, pardon me, already had like access to the feature, which is interesting and pretty neat. It looks pretty good. I have to say, like, I'm excited for it on one end, and I look forward to it coming out because, it's nice to have additional features when it comes to, how you express your creativity, so to speak. Stem separation is nice because when you're doing samples, you might have that one part in your sample that has all of these elements going on, and sometimes it's just nice to, like, even though the sample sounds good as it is, once you chop it up or extract it, being able to take out the certain aspects and just focus on the one specific element is always just a nice feature, in my opinion. Be it like taking out the vocals, taking out the drums, taking out the guitars, or whatever. It's always nice that they are able to like implement that feature, and it's cool that so many different companies are including that in their products, and inexpensively, because prior to like 2020, I think Isotope was one of the main ones, or one of the only ones that was able to really do stem separation, and it was a little bit more on the pricier end. So it's cool to see that feature being added to a lot of different products, and it's relatively inexpensive. And again, for like the MPC lineup, it's just one more thing that's going to add another feature, to the MPC, making it that much more valuable if you got it. Because I don't think there's any piece of hardware out there that offers you the ability to, separate your stems from your audio. That to me is pretty dope. How well they do it, I know I've seen some of the videos from some of the content creators out there, and it looks good, but I'm also curious as to like how that feature will work in real time in terms of any limitations and bugs. And so, for example, like, I did a couple videos a while back on some different stem separating products, and one thing I found was the artifacts. Like, depending on what piece of audio I use, even when I split the stems, you had some artifacts. It might not be too much depending on what your sound source is, but I found that, I had little artifacts and bits and pieces of other, elements here and there. When I just wanted like my vocal stem, I might find bits and pieces of like, you know, a lead, or bits and pieces of keys, because it's all based on like spectral analysis and frequency, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing too, MPC, although like the different versions have slightly different specs, they're all for the most part relatively limited. Like the live 2 and the 1, if I'm not mistaken, give you 2 gigs of RAM. The old X gave you 2 gigs of RAM. The new MPC X gave you 3 gigs of RAM. So I imagine that's going to give you a little bit more processing speed, maybe. And then the MPC keys is, I think that's like the most RAM, with 4 gigs of RAM, which isn't much. And so even though you're talking about that operating system being exclusive to those machines, and that's their only job, just to boot up all the resources needed, when you're talking about gigs of RAM, or just your specs, how will that play into like the speed of how quickly it's able to do things, how well it'll be able to separate that stuff, like how all that stuff works together, those separate elements, if you will. And so that's something that I'm kind of curious to see how that looks. And then the other part is like the price point. I've been seeing online on the interwebs, some folks have been saying like the price will be $9.99. And at that point, 9.99 is a no-brainer. $10, go ahead and buy it. I know I'll be buying it for the software just so I can have it, because again, it's just one more feature and one more way of doing everything all native. On the other hand, if it was like $100 for the feature, I may be a lot more reluctant to, to buy it. Just because, again, there's a lot of other companies out there that have similar products out there. Like I did a few videos 2 years ago on AI and RipX, and both of those will get the job done when it comes to stem separation. And AI is a pretty strong, relatively inexpensive, if not free, resource. RipX is a little bit more pricey, but depending on what you're trying to do, it may be worth it. And it's a lot more powerful, because not only does it provide stem separation, it also does MIDI conversion. It can take polyphonic MIDI. It can take that audio that's polyphonic and separate the MIDI out in each of those stems. So that's nothing to balk at if you're looking to spend money to get that feature. Also, other DAWs like FL Studio have the feature. They released their version and their implementation back in November, late November. Waveform, the full version, they have theirs. Serato Sample, they have theirs. And I haven't played with Serato Sample since they had that feature, but I've heard it said by some folks that that's supposed to be a really good version to use. And some people say it has one of the best stem separators. And then there's also Serato the DAW. And then there's a few other ones as well. I already mentioned two. If you do a Google search and type in stem separator, you'll see a few more. I got them right down here, because I shot this video earlier and then I'm just trying to reshoot it again to make everything a little bit shorter. So yeah, man. So let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts? I'm kind of, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see how this thing rolls out. I hope the price is at $9.99. And again, at that point, respect to Akai, because they are continuing to add these features that just solidify the MPC as a remarkable groove box for this time frame, and very feature rich product. That's all I got. I'm Tim Keys. I'm out. Thank you. Peace.